Hey, Paul.
Hey, Fumi. So we're here in South Africa, but we're going to talk about the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Which is like, it helps you, like understanding Dutch, it makes you understand Afrikaans, which some of the people here don't. But anyway, it's about Creative Commons. And,
So what's unique about your country? That
I don't know if there's anything unique about the country, I think, but we're one of the very few, or maybe we are the country where the government has implicitly gone the furthest to basically support and like also embrace Creative Commons, not in the sense that the government goes and licenses everything in Creative Commons, but we've received like government funding for our activities for the past 3 years, and we're fairly confident, although at this moment we don't know at all, that we're gonna have government funding for sometime in the future. So they definitely see like some value in Creative Commons, and they pay us to do research. They also give us money to do like basically support to organizations which want to use Creative Commons. And there's a wide field of things, like it's what they call cultural heritage institutions, so museums, archives. Obviously for them it's very interesting what Creative Commons can mean in the educational sector, both like higher and like primary education, because I think, or I would assume that if you share teaching materials that's on economies of scale, that can mean something within an educational system. And on the third thing, and which is interesting, I think they have given us the opportunity, and in a way they've also given us the legitimation to go and question certain practices of the collecting societies in the music field in Holland. So we all know this old problem, which basically says, like, if you're a member of a collecting society, your collecting society will basically say, I administer your rights for you and you don't have any choice, which also has a consequence because they keep your rights, you don't have your own rights, so you can't give Creative Commons licenses to your fans, to people, like, to promote your own work. Like they make it difficult for yourself to promote your own work with the best of intentions, but still that's a consequence. So we've been talking to the Dutch collecting societies for 2.5 years now. And end of last summer, in August, we came up with this pilot project, which basically, under certain conditions, which basically means like you sign like, okay, you're aware of the limitations. You as a musician who is a member of the Dutch Collecting Society can also use Creative Commons licenses for your work online for non-commercial purposes. So the idea is the Creative Commons license governs your non-commercial uses by third parties of your work, and the regular way of collecting societies dealing with users of your work covers the commercial users. So if a radio station plays your work, collecting society will go to radio station and like take a fairly small, but like they will collect royalties from you. If someone who runs a weblog, which is like commenting on music, which is like basically his non-commercial undertaking, uses your song, he can embed it, he can describe, review it, but like he can even, in most cases, probably remix it. So there's this split thing. Collecting societies do what they're good at, collecting by for commercial uses of the material. Creative Commons licenses come in place where they are good at governing the relations between you and your supporters, your fans, the generally unidentified vague public on the internet, which might want to engage in you and is unsure about the rights. So we think this is kind of a way forward.
Yeah.
Also in terms of, if you look what Creative Commons then internationally does with the CC Plus project, where they go like, okay, here's a license which says some rights reserved, for example, the right for commercial exploitation, but you can also indicate where those rights for commercial exploitations can be obtained against payment or against some other form of compensation. And in the end, we are basically using the same infrastructure. We're using the same metadata. So basically, it's a CC Plus thing, where like the CC is the strength of distribution on the internet, and the Plus is the strength which collecting societies have in asking for these little compensation a lot of times when stuff is going to be made on radio or in shops or wherever stuff is being made. So that's very exciting at the moment, like how this turns out. It's very fresh, but I think it's questioning certain things which have been held as absolute beliefs for a very long time, and that in a very sensitive way. I think there's two sides to the story. Like maybe we've been living under ideal circumstances where we have a collecting society where people like really think about change, and like people really realize that they need to adopt to distribution in the times of the internet, like basically where the rules have changed. And plus we as Creative Commons in the Netherlands had this added thing, like we're government sponsored, so nobody can say about us like we're just like a bunch of hippies who like come up with this ideology of free sharing and like a bunch of hippies here. So I don't think like people can put us down as a bunch of hippies, because like we've got this certain, like the government supports us, right? So I think it is like being confident, like also approach the big players, the invested players, consciously. Go to the government and say like, okay, here's something which might be interesting for you. Go to the collecting societies and says, we probably know more about how things work on the internet than you do, because honestly we're a product of the internet revolution, and you are a product of the industrial distribution of cultural goods. And it's not that we are that there is an inherent conflict of interest, but that there is like people who know the one thing better and they know the other thing better. On the other thing, I think also on an indirect thing, like, and I know that for sure, like, is like the fact that in a way the ice has been broken. It's been like never, for a long time, like the idea that Creative Commons and a collecting society do a press release with the two logos side to side with it was kind of like unimaginable, or was heresy for both sides of the deal to do this. And in a way, once the ice is broken, of course, it's easier for other people to follow. And we know like that this has caused, like in a number of other countries, like that there's like more contacts, maybe more serious talks between things. And we would actually expect that to have like some kind of like that self-propagating effect. Because it's in the end it comes down to it's a fairly natural thing. Like I mean, the industrial collection of royalties doesn't work on the internet, or at least not like if individual users and individual creativity is concerned. On the other hand, like Creative Commons also does not aspire to have a model to somehow generate income for people whose cultural works are in very heavy demand and heavy rotation at a point. That's not why we came into being. That's also not what we want to be. So we're not like, it's additional. It's not like, it's not conflicting the whole piece.